Hey, welcome back to the Gym Owners Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking a few things, and we have Don Roberts with the Wellness Toolbox author and owner of Fit 247 in Durango, Colorado. Don, awesome to have you on. I know you're a customer of ours, but I wanted to have you on for a while because I know a lot of owners that I talk to, they all have these ideas of writing a book and you've written not just one, you have two of them. And one of the things I wanted to ask was the process of writing a book, because I know you're not just owner of a gym, you also do the training and you're very involved owner, and you still were able to get this accomplished. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was what made you want to write the book, and maybe go over the process of what it took to write the book.
Yeah. Thanks, Anthony. And by the way, I'm actually working on a third one, but it's a
Awesome.
it's a short one. It's just weight loss tips.
Okay.
Anyway, but many years ago when I got my start at a little gym here in Durango, Colorado called Main Street Gym, I just always was just gravitated to information. Even back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, back in muscle and fitness and stuff. And I was just always intrigued by data, whether that be nutritional data I'm not just somebody's opinion, not some big steroid guy that says, hey, this is the protein powder I take and these are the reps. That kind of stuff didn't appeal to me actually at all. It was more of the science stuff that had been tried and true. And anyway, I had this old guy tell me, he says, you need to write a book. And I'm like, well, someday maybe. And it just, it was kind of a dream for 20 some years. Well, no, yeah, about 20 years. And then I just started kind of old schooling it and just writing literally in a notebook, just stuff. I just write ideas and just things and a lot of myths. So as you know, the books are centered around myths. And I wanted to do it in a different way. I wanted to do just short tidbits of stuff that people could go, oh, wow, I had no idea that, kids can lift weights without it stunning their growth. Or, wow, I had no idea protein elevates my metabolism that much, whatever it was. But I also wanted to add some humor with some cartoons and stories and things like that. But yeah, I knew someone in my hometown here that had written one because I didn't know about how I was going to go about it. And it just, one thing led to another. And fortunately, my son, because he said, you need to get into Google Docs, So then that saved my world because then I could just take all that information, put it in there. I could write from wherever I happen to be, even though, I don't travel much, even pre-COVID. But yeah, so it's just, as they say, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. It took a long time, but then the second one just kind of happened because we were shut down for a couple of months with COVID. And I said, wow, I've got this other data that I want to get out there. And so I just pushed on. I'd come into work, so for 2 months, I come in here and work 4 or 5 hours a day on it for 2 months because I didn't have a whole lot else going on.
Wow, I didn't know you did that other book out of COVID. It's an easy read, and you're right. There's a lot of comical funny. So my favorite one is a picture, and it says, "Chasing the ice cream truck does not count as a summer fitness program." and, and I can relate. I can relate. I was like, this guy knows it, man. This guy's. I didn't know you did that on COVID, so you were able to knock that out during
Yeah,
COVID, huh?
in all fairness, I had a bit of it. I had maybe a quarter of it was kind of left over from that first book, and it just didn't, I had to stop at some point. My wife's like, you can't just keep writing this. It's going to be 500 pages, So I said, you're right. And so when I decided to do the second one, which was never even a thought, not even a thought, but after that first one, it just happened. So it's
Okay.
exciting. I'm really excited for this one because this one is really short and it's just like 30 weight loss tips. And it's tried and true stuff. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people for the last 30 years, and it's stuff that works and it's stuff that's sustainable. In my
Sure.
opinion, most people do stuff that just is short term. It just doesn't last. So
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm intrigued because you know me, I think we've BS'd on the phone back and forth about, growing the business and just getting more memberships and stuff like that. And, that's always intriguing to me. That's kind of why I like doing these podcasts. I don't get to be in the gyms anymore. Now I'm just software, but I the fun for me was actually growing the business, and that's why I like talking to a bunch of different owners. Why don't is there any I know you're a customer of mine, you're using our door control system, but is there anything that would you say your gym is different than anything else? Like, what do you attribute to the success of your club, yeah, being?
Yeah, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and that's kind of what happened with me. I'm in a town of about 20,000 people, and 20 years ago, the gym I worked at went out of business because the rec center in town essentially, it's a nice facility, but everybody, like half of our members went there. And in a 3-month period, I mean, if you can imagine losing 50% of your members in 3 months, and I wasn't an owner, I was the face of the place. I was there all the time. But anyway, so we went out of business. And I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I didn't really want to go back into construction and do things that I've done. I've done a lot of different odd jobs, as we all have, but
Sure.
I've always had a passion for it. And so I, uh, I decided to really go out on a limb. Fortunately, my wife was on board. I couldn't get any banks to truly give me a regular loan. And so I had built up, fortunately, enough equity in our house, and I took out a $100,000 loan
Wow.
equipment, to get equipment.
Wow.
And before I did that, though, I made sure that I contacted tons of people, over 100 people, to say, look, I need a yes or a no. A maybe's okay, but I need a yes or a no. And it's okay if it's a no, but just be honest with me. Are you interested in this kind of a facility? Because at the time, and I was in a warehouse, the rent was really inexpensive. So I needed about 75 people to break even. And fortunately, I got that first month, and it just gradually grew by 10 or 20 people each month, So yeah, it was a big step, but it's just one I had a lot of faith in. And, fortunately, things were able to work out.
Yeah. Well, when you have a passion for something, it's totally different when somebody goes into a gym where the owner's involved and you can tell they have a passion for it versus a non-involved owner, which is not a bad thing. That's fine. You want to open a business and that, but it's it's value selling versus price selling, right? Where they
Yeah,
go in, "Hey, I want to know what the price is." And the front desk person there or person there just give them a price. The person, okay, I'll think about it. See you later. Whereas somebody that's involved owner, they value sell. You go over, hey, what brought you in here?
yeah,
Giving an actual tour of the club, like all that stuff makes the biggest difference in the world. Mm,
absolutely.
that's
To answer your
awesome.
question, Anthony, sorry to interrupt you, is
No, no, no.
what really separates us. So I only have one club. It's our own name. It used to be called Fitness Solutions 24/7. Now it's just Fit 24/7. We are 24-hour. We opened in '02, so we're in our 20th year. We were adult only. The 24-hour concept was very new 20 years ago, all around the country, kind of. But I've always just, yeah, we pay a lot of attention to detail, whether that's friendliness, like you said, doing the tour thing, really work hard on keeping it clean. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to keep your locker rooms, the equipment clean, because, yeah,
Right now, especially.
we do something else that's pretty unique I've never seen before. And yeah, it's a cost, but it's worth it. Is every Monday I have flowers delivered. Not a giant thing, but, and I put them in the ladies' room. And I can't even begin to tell you how many women over the last 20 years have said, man, that's just amazing that you do that. I'm like, well, you're worth it. And it's just a
That's
nice,
awesome.
it's just a nice little touch. Things
Oh
like
my god,
that.
I've never heard of that
Um,
before. That's awesome.
the other thing I do, and it's kind of a long story, but when they do bring the bouquet, I make sure they always bring 2 roses. And then I put those 2 roses in different places in the gym that some special people that used to be here. So, it's little things like that. It's having conversations with people. It's being present. It's, you probably remember this. I sold cars many, many years ago for a short period of time, but, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right?
Absolutely.
And, and,
Absolutely.
and if, and if you make people feel like they're part of that gym family, whoo, man, you'll have a long-term member.
Absolutely. And price doesn't really matter at that much. If you show somebody that you're sincere, you wanna know brought them in, they tell you what their goals are. And if you come off as sincere that you are genuinely want to help them, it doesn't matter if you're $10 more. You don't have to drop your pants with price. They're
Yeah,
going to see,
absolutely.
you know, and you're very involved with training. Want to tell, is there any, how you do your training a little bit different? Is there anything that you would say is off kilter that's the normal, say, personal training that you do?
I think so. I was so I don't know, 20 some years ago, I guess I thought got my accreditation through American Council on Exercise, and it's since been through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And, they have some similar things. I think the most important thing is like, one, being very present with those people and figuring out what they want, not assuming everybody wants the same thing. Making sure you establish some goals. I sit down with them one on one in my office, close the door, because they may have some things that they're very uncomfortable with, their weight, or they have an eating disorder, whatever it may be. And I make sure that we go through their health history, find out what their goals are, why they want those goals. Like, are they just wanting this? Do they just want to lose 30 pounds because they're getting married? Or do they really want this for a lifetime thing? And I talk about all that in the books, but I do have a different type, probably anyway, a different type of training. I am not a fan of split systems. Usually, I'll say usually, there's about 4 different programs I work with, but one of the main things that I do with the majority of people, and this is true even if it was a professional athlete, even if somebody in a bodybuilding, believe it or not, natural bodybuilding, is to do 3 full body workouts per week. Now,
Okay.
that doesn't mean that's the only thing I believe in, but there's a lot of science behind that. And a lot of the old school guys, way before steroids, we're talking way back in the day, used to train that way. And so, in other words, rather than bombarding your leg, hitting your legs one day a week and your back one day a week and your chest, you're hammering that body part. You're probably going to be sore as heck, but then you're not going to hit it again for a week. It's kind of crazy. And so why not stimulate it 2 to 3 times a week, but just not as hard? I'm a big proponent of also, so as an example, let's say we did a Monday, Wednesday, Friday program. First of all, that's sustainable. Most people can commit to 3 days a week.
Sure.
Also, maybe one of those days is all dumbbell, and one of those days is all barbell, and one of those days is all kettlebell, or maybe machines. I'm not a big fan of machines, but sometimes. I also am a big fan of varying the reps. So maybe one of those days is light, one is medium, one is heavy. And those are relative terms, of course, but I really talk about that in more detail in that second book. But again, like, the eating plans that I do, you've got to give somebody a realistic, sustainable program, or they're going to burn themselves out, right?
Yep.
And
No repeat client for sure.
right. And
You
I
know,
think a lot of times the other thing is I start people with 1 set. No, start them with 3 sets. I think that's nuts. The
sure.
whole no pain, no gain thing is nuts. I mean, it really is. It's you want them to get there gradually, right? They got to walk before they run. Hey, and not everybody can do a barbell squat. That's okay. Maybe they do a dumbbell squat, or maybe they can't even do that. Maybe they have ankle issues that are super tight, and you've got to get them on a leg press. But there's a multitude of things to do, but you got to make sure, even though it's going to be challenging for them, it's got to be enjoyable to some degree. I mean, if they
Sure.
hate coming in, there's people like you and I that love working out, but not everybody does.
No.
And those are the people that we've got to try to reach.
I remember this one lady that came in. She literally told me, she's like, I'm going to sign up and pay you 6 months and cancel. She's like, to talk me into why I should sign up with you or whatever. And she didn't really have enough money for personal training or anything. So I made a deal with her. Well, it was a slow day anyway, so we need to get her signed up. So I basically said, I'll tell you what, if you sign up today, I, what I want you to do is I want you to personally see me in my office and every time you come. So this is what I want you to do. I'm not going to even put you on the workout floor. For the first week, all I want you to do is come to my office and say hi and then leave. I said, can you commit to that? So she
Wow,
said,
nice.
yes. So on the second day, I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. He said, hi, I'm going to put you on the treadmill for 2 minutes. Can you commit to that? And I mean, how are you going to say no to 2 minutes? So after that, and of course, they do more than 2 minutes, right? But
Very
I told them,
smart. Very smart.
and before you know it, she's the type of person that's coming in for 45 minutes a day. And it takes, I would say, takes about 2 weeks to create a good habit, especially with fitness, right? To where you can't see yourself not going to the gym. Now, I know a lot of gym owners that if you're watching this, and I talked with you before the podcast, most of us, it was always a dream of us to be working in a gym because we loved fitness so much. And then once you actually have your own club, it's your love and passion starts to become the stresses in your life, and you start to be that person at the end of the day, you want to just get the heck out of there. So you kind of even have to make those small baby steps, not just for your clients, but also for yourselves, because I guarantee you a lot of people watching this, I'm a good example. There's times where I get burnt out and I'm like, I'm just going to take a shower and eat dinner and go to bed.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
so it's in there. So I wanted to, go over personal training is such a huge part with the gym for retention. The average person, if you sign up, it all depends on your monthly dues, but let's say you're around $30 a month. That person may stay with you for 12 months and decide to cancel, but a person that gets personal training, even if it's just a 3-pack or an orientation, that person's going to stay with you so much longer.
Absolutely.
And they're never going to quit.
Some,
Go ahead.
Something else. Sorry. Something else I do is if people commit to me, so as long as they do at least 3 months with me, I do a free training session with them. It's like a half hour, but like you just said, they're committing some time to me. I'm going to commit a little time to them. Some people would say, well, I'm not going to do anything for free. But again, it's an investment. And like you just said, you give them that. 9 times out of 10, they're going to stay with you a lot longer than 3 months or 6 months or 12 that they signed up for.
And refer their friends, which is the next thing I want to get into.
Absolutely.
Is referrals. That's another thing I want to talk about. So I mean, I've tried a bunch of different things. I'll let you explain how you do your referrals, but it was a couple of things that I've tried. I've tried, you name it. If it was in a book or another person said it, I've tried it. A referral that used to work really good would at point of sale. After point of sale, we had a 24-hour club as well, and that's when I would explain the rules, and if they want to bring somebody, that it's members only after hours, and if guests are normally $10 a day, but for signing up today, I would have like a guest list, and I would say you could put up to 4 people on this list. So why don't you go through your phone now, and anybody that you think you maybe want to working out with, put them down on that list, and I'll give them a free 2-week trial membership for you. So this way they don't have to pay a guest fee. I'm going to go grab your key. And it would be funny because when I would peek out the blinds in my office and they would be on their phone, and some people would even say, can I put more than 4 people? I'm like, I don't know. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Don't put 4 people. And then I would just use that list. And maybe like 2 days later, I would call up and say, hey, Allison, this is Anthony from Lifestyle Fitness. Joe just signed up and put you on his preferred guest list. And I was just wondering if you wanted to come and pick up that free membership. What time? Does 2:00 or mornings work better for you?
Mm-hmm.
And those people would come in and I would just do the same thing. We'd go over if they had goals. And obviously their friend that just signed up wants them to sign up so they can have a buddy. And
absolutely.
And that was a referral program that worked really well. Another one that worked really well for retention that we want to play around with was if you referred somebody, we lowered your dues. So what that meant I put all these signs around the club that said, drop your membership as low as $9.99, right? And it caused a stir. See Anthony in the office. And people would say, well, how the hell do I get my membership down to $9.99? I'm paying $40. Like, well, every time you refer a member to sign up for a retail membership, and they're not canceling the second month or anything, I'll drop your dues by $5 and you get to keep that. And instead of, just giving out, because if I, like you, I know you'll talk about you give out a free month. For me, giving out a free month was $40. So what that meant was if I dropped their dues by $5, it takes 8 months for me to give out $40. And they sort of think twice about canceling, because let's say they referred two people. Okay, so now their dues are dropped by 10 and it's $30. As soon as they would cancel, I would bring up their membership like, how do you get $30 membership? Oh, I referred two people. Okay, are
Yep.
you sure you want to cancel? Because you're going to lose that special and you'll have to re-sign back up under $40 if you want to. And then they would say, no, 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 go ahead and just leave it.
Yeah.
And I
That's
know some
smart.
people go, that's crazy to drop them $5, but is it really? My memberships were $40 to them get down to $9.99. They'd have to refer to me, what, 6 or 7 people? So I'm getting 6 or 7 people for $40 a piece to give this one guy $10 a month membership. If first of all, if
Yeah.
somebody brought 7
I
people into my gym, I'd
yeah,
give them a free membership, you know?
absolutely. No, I think both of those strategies, by the way, which neither of which I've used, are brilliant. It's just that's really smart marketing right there. Yeah, I
It's
really do.
I'm
Yeah,
always to spend the least amount of money. Marketing is always there's nothing wrong with going with a marketing company, but if you really have a good gym and you're a family base, I think you guys have a lot of potential. If you mess around with some ideas, you could blow the
absolutely.
lid off that thing, you know?
A
So
absolutely. I don't spend a dime. I have in the past.
sure.
I have, and I know for some people, it works well, and for those there listening that maybe in the advertising world might not like me for saying this, but it just never worked for me. Radio didn't work, TV didn't work. The only time newspaper worked is if I did some massive sale where I maybe broke even. Yeah, and I've done the big ones too, where this company from, I don't even know, I'm in Southwestern Colorado. These guys are out of California and they come in, they do this mega special mailer and it looks cool. And it's like for $19 a month. And I got like 40 new members,
Good.
but it ended up being, I don't know, it wasn't ideal. I would strongly recommend what you just said. And I'll tell you what, we may talk about this because these people don't know that for 20 years, I ran this place with pen and paper. And until I met you, which was a total accident, I, I didn't know. And just, we're talking a few days ago, I just sent out to my basically 600 members a group text, which isn't, they don't see each other's name for this weight loss challenge I'm doing. I got back like, oh my gosh, like 200 responses. And I said, look, I'm only doing it for 20 people. And I've already got them signed up. It's $300 a piece to do it. And there's some prizes and I'm going to do all kinds of stuff for it. But, point being that there's just numerous things you can do in-house, like you said, whether it's referrals or whatnot, that there's got to be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up too, because I've pen and papered a club before, and I know the ideal. Like to me, when we first started talking, I know in your mind you're like, "Oh, this guy is just a sales guy that's trying to get me to use software." But I was trying to, say like, I pen and papered a club before. When you pen and paper a club, you can only get it to a certain point. Then it starts to become a revolving door. And this isn't trying to be an infomercial to sell Gym Insight. This is straight up me and you talking. And I think, a lot of people, you're trying to lower costs everywhere you can in pen and papering. But I've always been one to say you don't want to cut money on things that make you money and help grow the business, because you are a very involved owner. And once you have like organization, whether it be us or another software company, you could grow that business to 1,000 members, 2,000. It doesn't matter because it's the same to you. And you have that automation now. So that I'm glad the texting worked really good. Another thing that I want to bring up, because I know the Zoom reading is probably going to only go up to an hour, is the website signups, because you really never did that. And I know there's a lot of people that are watching this that are adamant about not doing website signups because they have this idea saying, if I show price, I'm going to lose somebody. If they're serious, they're going to come in. And I think so much the opposite of that. If you do not have a web presence or ability, you're missing the low-hanging fruit, because there are people today's day and age with their social media and there's all these motivational videos. There are those people that just watch the motivational video of somebody losing 40 pounds. And if you don't have that ability to sign up online, they are online because they're in that moment. They're hot. They're like, I'm going to lose 40 pounds too, or whatever it is.
Yep. Yep.
If you don't have that web sign up, the next day when they wake up, they're not in that mood anymore. And they'll probably be another 6 months before they walk in. So what did
Yeah.
you notice once you started doing website signups? Tell us what you experienced once you started doing that.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, as you may remember, it just wasn't an interest to me. I just thought, well, hey, I've never done it that way. And I just don't, yeah, you had your beliefs or whatever. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try, but I just don't see it happening. I have probably signed up close to 100 people in the last 5 months off of my website that links into Gym Insight. It's unbelievable to me. Now, granted, I'm not saying every one of them was a 12-month or 6-month. Some of them were maybe just here for a month or 3, maybe even just a week or a day. But again, these are people that I may not have never even may not have seen it all. And like you said, and at first I thought, well, I don't know, maybe once in a while, but hey, it's on their mind. Boom. I mean, they can do it from their phone, from their PC. If they want to do it at 12 o'clock at night while they're sitting there eating Cheetos, they can do it. It don't matter. And so, no, it's a game changer for me. And honestly, the other thing, even though I love, and I still, meet with these people one-on-one, my gosh, I mean, it saves me unbelievable amount of time because as you know, I'm a one-man band. Like
Right.
I have other trainers in here that work as independent contractors. By the way, that's something else that I think every gym should do. Have them pay you, don't you pay them. They pay
Rent.
me a percentage of what they make. And I do a tiered system on that. But yeah, man, it's fantastic. I'll even have a situation. I might be leaving for the day, and it's 5 o'clock and I've got somebody standing out front like, hey man, I'm here to get in the gym. And I said, even though I probably could go to the door, I want to get home and see my family. I'm like, hey, if you just go to the website, bada boom, and then send me a quick text, or I said, I'm going to see your email come across.
Sure.
I'll send, yeah. And it's pretty, it's very, very handy. The whole
Yeah.
site has helped me so much in the last 5 months. It's unbelievable.
Awesome. Again, I'm not. I didn't want to turn to a Gym Insight infomercial, but there are, like, I talk to gym owners all the time throughout the day, and some of them that I talk to, they're like, "No, we don't do that. We don't do." Just like how kind of like you did. So I kind of wanted to get a perspective of somebody that had pen and paper, old school, super old school, as old school as you can get, to
Yeah.
then all of a sudden being into automation because it's a game changer. Not and the website signups is not just did you just get a membership, but now when they come in, you have a shot at selling them personal training. If they like
Oh,
it, they can refer a friend. So you could just see how much more it grows with that. So, and you have to be prepared because I'm going to lead off and end off on this because my next podcast I want to talk about the dead months of the year, which I think are November and December. Personally, I know some for gyms that have a lot of personal training, it's always gonna be active because people are using the gym. But walk-ins, the phones stop ringing and the door stops swinging in November and December. It's like people give themselves that permission
yeah.
to not sign up and wait till January. And
Yeah. I've
a
seen
lot
that
of
for 30 years. Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, and a lot of owners are like, "Yeah, January, we're gonna get this gold." It's not a gold rush. You are not selling in November. You're not selling in December. So all that gold rush is doing is making up for those dead months. So I'm always, whether I'm talking to somebody to help them grow their business or if I'm just BSing with a customer, I always like to hear if there are some things that they do for those specific months. So I'm going to assume, and I'll let you answer this, but those workout challenges that you sent those texts out to those people. I mean, I know for me, I used to send out a text or an email because back then we didn't have one. I wasn't lucky enough to have automatic texting. I used to either dial for dollars or send out
Oh, yeah.
emails. And I would go for my canceled members and, I would never say, I want you to re-sign back up. I had a script where it was like a get back in the game offer or a reactivation sale where you can uncancel your membership for $9.99. And I never used the term re-sign back up because in somebody
Mhm.
that canceled in their mind, their thought process, oh, I got to go down. I got to uncancel. I said, would you like to uncancel? It's only $9.99 today. And I just got to put a new card on file. Oh, what does it take?
Mhm.
Click uncancel, go to new payment, put a card on. I just added $25 in dues on like that. So that's stuff that like I used to do November and December. to to make up for those walk-ins because the bills don't stop coming. Is there anything that you used to do for those ghost town months, as I call them?
Man, I mean, I think that's a great idea what you're talking about. You know, maybe doing some challenges. I mean, it's just can be really difficult, right? Because a lot of people may be going out of town, or like you said, or I think you said, giving themselves that break. It's like, I'll just wait. I'll just wait till the first of the year before I join that gym. Or I think a Facebook presence can be very helpful too. And I do mine both, you know, my personal one and friends. And I'm fortunate to know a lot of people around our community, but I just sent something out last night on both of mine. It just, you know, just said, you know, why are you waiting? Don't wait till January 1st. You know,
Sure.
what's the point? And it actually was kind of a cool statue thing of this really fit guy from the waist up and from the waist down. He was huge and he was chiseling away all of his body
Oh,
fat.
gotcha.
And, you know, I think sometimes just the education, or, you know, sending those things out, like you said, if it's a canceled members or whatever, there's a lot of creative ways to do it without spending much money.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against marketing companies because there are people that try to do creative ways and it doesn't work because it could be their gym, the competition, the area. They may have not a lot of people in town. So I want to be clear, I'm not against marketing companies. I think if you're somebody that's an uninvolved owner, you're not there all the time, or you have like college kids running the club, marketing, definitely, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just somebody that's always like, if you are an involved owner, you do know your member base. There's some things you might want to try for free first. And
Yeah.
maybe if that doesn't work out for you, sure, do an experienced marketing company, check their reviews. There's plenty of fitness ones out there, but definitely you want to go with market within your own member base first because
Yeah.
those are such leads. And we all know those cancellations from moving aren't really 90% of them. They're not moving. They're
Yeah.
just telling you that they're moving because when they walk into the club, there's such a defense wall up. They're embarrassed first of canceling. They're scared of you of being talked out of canceling. So the first thing that they tell you when you ask them why they're canceling is, "I'm moving." Because there's
Yeah.
nothing you could combat about that. Even if you talk to that member and you strike up a really good conversation to the point where she's second guessing, she's still not going to uncancel because now she's going to look like a liar, and people don't want to do that. So,
Yeah.
what a good thing that I used to do, I always used to look at cancellations as another chance of selling training. So I would ask them if as soon as they were interested in canceling, I had a desk outside. I had an office, but I also had a desk on the floor because that's when I would do my price presentation and closing. The office was really for personal training, or if I'm asking questions that are kind of that they feel would be embarrassing out there.
Mhm.
I always did my closing because you have the energy on the floor, people on the ellipticals, you working out. And it was a lot easier to make a sale on the floor than in the
Sure.
office where it felt like a car deal. So
Yeah.
as soon as the person said the word canceling, first thing I would do, I didn't want to hear anymore. I said, absolutely, come right here. Let's look. Let me help you with that. So boom, wall goes down. They already think, oh, this is easy. Okay.
Yeah.
I go to their account. I see how long they've been with us. Some will be 12 months. Some will be 6 months. Some will be 2 years. And I would say, oh, so Don, what's the main reason you're canceling today? Is it just you're not using it? And usually everybody would say, yeah, I'm just not using it. I would click out of that cancellation box, go back to their account and say, Don, you've been with us for 24 months. I would really hate to see you leave just because you decided that you weren't using it right now. Why don't you let me give you a month on me? I'll give you a free orientation with a trainer. And I'm assuming you still have those goals that you wanted to achieve when you first signed up 2 years ago, right? Yes. Okay, great. Well, let me set you up with an orientation. This month's on me. You don't have to pay for it. And if you still decide that you don't think you could get here to achieve those goals that you want, we'll cancel you off, no problems. You could even call me up. And a lot of times they would stay. The orientation sometimes would sell the training afterwards. So it was all because there's a lot of the cancellations are so scared. Yes, there are people moving, but not 90% of the people that tell you that they're moving are actually moving. It's a little secret. Everyone.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good strategy. That's a really good way to, like you said, take down that wall. And I mean, and at least you're attempting and giving them the opportunity to go, oh, shoot, if you're going to do that, then of course I want to take advantage of
You're
that.
taking away all the excuses,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
giving them a free month. You're giving them free training. They just admitted they still have those goals, so
Yeah.
at least you have a fighting shot with them. And I used to cringe when I would go into clubs and I would see the front desk girl or guy or whatever they want, so whatever, and someone would say they want to cancel, and the first thing out of their mouth is like, "Oh no, why would you do something like that?" Boom, wall 10 feet higher,
Yeah.
bigger than
Right.
the border wall, And now they're definitely tell you they're gonna cancel. There's no, so that's just something that I always thought to myself, there's always a way I can get this person to change their mind on this. It's just that you saying the right amount of words so they feel comfortable. But, you can't change everybody, or they just may not like you, but I would say for the most reasons, it was rather successful. And it's just those people being scared of failure because let's be honest, they're having to admit that they failed at their goals, and now they're
Yeah.
canceling, and they're canceling that they're not coming to the gym for another year till next January.
Well, and it's only taking you a couple minutes to do that procedure. And if they decide that's not for them, what have you lost? You've lost a couple minutes,
Right.
but the possibility of gaining, and even if they do leave, they're going to be like, wow, that was really awesome that they offered that. It just, again, it just keeps your reputation sound too. You don't want to be known as the guy down the block that, treats people like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. Because right now it's easy enough to put a review online, and trust me, the moment you piss somebody off, whether it be a front desk person
Mhm.
or anybody, they will spend 8 hours of their life looking for places to write
Yes.
reviews. Your gym.
Anthony, I want to say something really quick, man. And
Yeah.
so I've been on Facebook and Google and all that kind of stuff for years, right? So as of about a week ago, I had 60 some reviews, most of which were good, like real good, 4 to 5 star. Had a couple of people that were upset. Most of them were people that had traveled through town and didn't get what they wanted, whatever. Well, anyway, last week I thought, I haven't really messed with this texting on Gym Insight. And how about if I send out something that says, hey, and it gives them their first name. So it makes them feel very personal. In an effort to increase business, would you be willing to do a quick review on Google? I had over 120 people write a review within 3 days.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I was
Awesome.
it was just bizarre. And I mean, some people might say, well, that's being phony or whatever. I said, no, I said, just
No,
give me an honest review. And anyway, that was really,
you didn't ask for
really,
a 5-star review, right?
no, I said, just
Right.
give me a nice, honest review. The other thing I do with people that are leaving, because maybe they did just move to Denver or whatever, I'll say, I wish you well. Thank you so much for your business. If you ever feel like doing a review for the gym, it would be much appreciated. And most of the time they do it. So anyway, it's just another way to build up some value for your facility.
Sure. Okay. Hey, listen, I've I've never heard of somebody using that texting for that. That's a really good idea. I I'm gonna start recommending that to if anyone needs help, because that's the best way to increase your ranking is reviews, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I'm in a
Wow.
relatively, small area. I encourage anybody to do that. I tell people that are trainers, I've done this for 30 years, is if I've just had a successful client, and I've got the before and after picture, or even if they didn't want to do that, I say, would you be willing, especially right after they're excited, they just lost 40 pounds. So would you be willing to write just a paragraph? Would you just email it? So I have this, huge portfolio for the last 30 years that sits on my front, that has
Wow.
hundreds of stories and pictures and whatever. Well, I don't know about hundreds, but dozens. And that way, when somebody comes in here to my office, they can look at that, you know, because, if it's trying to sell my book or whatever it is, I think it's just so powerful to have those testimonials. And that's really what a review is. It's a testimonial, right? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's I had a personal training binder as well, not just for it wasn't that many. You have a ton of reviews and testimonials of before and afters. I only had like a couple of like the outstanding clients, but I also after I didn't just always try to sell a membership. I would also have try to sell training attached to the membership if it was possible. And I think part of the way that I was able to sell training a lot easier than because some people selling training is the most hardest thing in the world. They're just happy with the membership. I would always shoot for 3 or 4 out of 10 to have some type of PT, whether it's a 20 pack or a 3 for $99. I didn't care because I know those people are going to stay for the long haul. And one of the easiest parts was in my personal training binder, I had different sections like fat loss, toning and firming, sports specific, and then like vacation wedding. Like it was a picture of a bride and groom or something. Because you do get those people that they
Yeah,
just want to look as good as they can on this date because it's a destination or something like.
ab absolutely.
So, and all that does is help people break down. Oh, that's because somebody. I've had people that were obese pick the toning and firming plan instead of the weight loss because it in their mind that made them feel better about I'm not here for weight loss, I'm here for toning and firming. Great, awesome. Did you want to do a 5,
Yeah,
10, or 20 package deal?
yeah,
And that
yeah,
helped a lot to sell personal training, believe it or not.
yeah.
But, that personal training is a whole nother podcast because that's a whole nother beast in itself on the complexity of giving a tour when also talking a little bit about professionalism, personal training, and how we keep you accountable and
Mhm.
how you're going to work out the right way so your results will be the same. Yeah, that's an hour-long podcast in itself. But, you
You
know,
know what? Yeah, and not to go off on another tangent.
no, no.
The other thing that I think a lot of gyms don't talk about, and that they may just not be comfortable doing it, but I tell people straight up, like, I own this gym, but the number one thing you need is sleep. And the number two thing you need is to change your nutrition. And again, it's got to be realistic, right? But I'm just honest with them and I say, look, your workouts are number three on the list. And they're usually shocked to hear that. But once I give them the sound advice and why that is, because a lot of people think they can out exercise a poor diet, and it just doesn't happen. And anyway, that's for a whole other podcast. But it's important.
Absolutely.
It's important to know.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. I know we've almost up to an hour now, but
Oh yeah, it's
you
fun.
know, yeah, this is my one of my things that I like to do. So, and you know me, you talked on the phone
Yeah,
countless
we've talked a
times
lot.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best part of my job, isn't the software is cool, but after it's set up and done, I mean, I never hear like how many times have you had to call us about software in the past couple of months? Like maybe one time or like even if after we set people up, we don't hear from them. So
it's
the
pretty. Yeah, and I know not you're not here to plug it now, but it has helped me tremendously, tremendously save time, organization, and make more money. I sell my books on here. I sell a protein powder, a creamer that are my own, personal training with a click of a button. I don't have to get out my index cards and look through their. I mean, oh my gosh, yeah.
oh,
I I was really doing it old school, and it worked. Right, it
right.
worked for almost 20 years, but that doesn't mean it's the best way or the
Yeah, right.
smartest way.
Yeah. No, no doubt. I mean, but yeah, that's my best part is just BS because after people get set up, it's kind of like signing somebody up at the gym. You sign them up, you never see from 'em again. And, the people that they're involved owners, I'm always talking to here and there if I'm not on meetings or anything. So, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to doing this with me. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just on a final note about the membership thing, getting to know your members, like, on a personal, and ask, yeah, "Hey, how are your kids doing?" And you remember their names. I know you can't always do that, but holy cow, people, again, you're making them feel like they're part of the family.
Sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, Don, you want to let everyone know the name of your book again before we get off?
Wellness Toolbox 1 and 2. And it's available on they're both available on Amazon, in hardback and in ebook.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know you had an ebook. So you had an ebook sense as
Yeah.
well. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and then probably around January I'll have my, I don't know number, but it's probably going to be 30 greatest weight loss tips. It's more than likely what it's going to be called.
Have you thought about audio booking it yet?
I've had a few people. Are you willing to do my audio?
I don't think you want a horrible New York accent doing your
I
audio book.
I like. I'm being serious. You have a great voice, and I don't want to do it. I don't think I have the. I don't know, but I have. I've had a few people ask me about that. Do you like audiobooks?
I like them when you don't have time, or
Yeah,
if you don't, if you do go to the gym and you only do an hour on the treadmill, it's nice to just put something in and hear something being read to you or something like that. Or
yeah,
somebody maybe on a stuck in traffic, worst case ever, you put a podcast in, maybe you're listening to the gym owners
yeah,
podcast, and it helps a little bit, time
yeah.
go by. So
Well, we might have to talk. I'm being serious. I might have you think about that.
okay,
Doing my audio.
you got it.
They're
No
gonna be like,
worries, my
they're,
friend.
they're gonna be like, I didn't know Don was Italian.
Oh my God. On that note, we will see you later. Everyone have a happy weekend or whichever day you're watching this on, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Anthony.
You got it. Bye.